He's going to finish his chicks.
Play that again.
He's going to finish his chicks.
It's a new day, and we got a new Luds drop. It's just how it happens. We went from this one.
Oh, sorry. Something's playing in my ears.
Yeah, he wasn't ready for that.
What, you went?
He's going to finish his chicks.
That's the new one, which replaced the previous bleeped out one.
Yeah, I don't know where that is.
Yeah, we lost
We haven't
it.
been in here in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, we changed studios. We're in the podcast today. Craig Ludwig, John Anderson, our producer.
Great start.
Sam Nessler is our beat reporter on the scene in New York. We'll talk to him in a little bit. This is the DLS pregame show. Let's get it started.
Get it ready, boys.
I don't know if our producer is actually old enough to know that thumbnail, as Luddy and I are thinking Ed McMahon with "Here's Jakey," or if it's not Ed McMahon,
Jack Nicholson, maybe?
that's what I was thinking about. It could be The Shining.
Yeah, it's The Shining.
Okay, so you're definitely thinking the darker, not the happier Tonight Show, right? Here's
Yes,
Johnny.
definitely.
Okay, I thought Here's Johnny, and then as I said it, I went, "Oh, I bet you Luds is thinking about The Shining." Yeah, exactly. Craig Ludwig, John Anderson, our producer. Sam Nessler will be joining us live from UBS Arena in Elmont, New York, home of the New York Islanders, in just a little bit. Stars and Islanders play tonight. Luds, I want to complain about something real quick. I don't know if it's worth
My
it or
job.
not. Well, okay. I'm going to complain. You tell me if it has any merit or not. To me, it seems almost unfair that the Dallas Stars have to play a back-to-back coming out of the 2-week break, and the second night of a back-to-back, not a lot of travel, New Jersey to New York, is against a team that did not play the day before. That seems like an energy advantage for the Islanders. Am I off base to be complaining about that?
No, but I would also I would counter that by saying we're probably expecting the Islanders to have a little rust.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe the team that did have to play the day before got some of that rust out, like the Dallas Stars did. Thanks to Jake, or not Jake. Jake will be there tonight, but thanks to Casey DeSmith kind of shutting the door on them guys early. But maybe that now they're going to have some bumps and bruises, or that lethargic kind of start that teams have coming out of breaks like this, and Dallas will take advantage of that.
Let's talk about Casey DeSmith for a second. Last night, he stopped 31 of 33 shots to get the victory. It seems the same thing that happened at the beginning of the season when the Stars weren't very good except their goaltenders, and Jake Oettinger, who will start tonight, blanked the Islanders in the second game of the season after they went and won in Nashville that first game, where they gave Scott Wedgwood a very rude awakening. Well, now, of course, he doesn't play for them anymore. But it's amazing how the goalies are ready to go for this club, even if the rest has rust. We didn't see anything from DeSmith on that regard.
I would say that the backups for sure already have that programmed in their minds, because it's part of the job description. You're going to get some poor starts. You're going to get the back-to-backs, and you're going to get it when guys are tired. And the number ones, they want to keep them number ones. They don't want the injuries to pop up and all this other kind of stuff. So I think that what happens, and we can only speak at Casey right now, I think he's well prepared, and knowing what's ahead of him and what games he's probably going to get and not get. And I think that you just mentally get focused a little bit earlier, and you try to monitor your players too, teammates and things like that, to see how things are going. But I just think that those guys know what the job description is, and they just kind of drill down a little bit more on day before games.
A couple years ago, Jeff Reese and Pete DeBoer tried the let's start Wedgwood in the first game, save Jake for the second game. And the Stars it didn't work. They lost. And I remember Pete saying, yeah, it didn't work very well. I don't know if we'll do that again. But actually like the fact that they're thinking about that, because this team is good enough, and Casey DeSmith has been good enough to win a game if he starts the first one, and then you have Oettinger fresh for this one, even if it's not talking about a Four Nations tournament kind of situation, just trying to use your goalies in that regard. This goalie tandem has been good enough. They should be able to pull off that kind of strategy.
Yeah, and I go back to Casey. I just think that kind of rolls over now to Jake, and Jake sees how well prepared Casey was for, like I said, a tough start, and he probably thinks about that a lot of times and thinks about, look at how this guy got ready for this game, and it's a tougher game. He understands that, and so that just gets him prepared that he can't. That it's kind of the standard has been set for tonight's game from what the goalie did in the previous night. So, maybe he picks up on that.
We have a message in the chat. CJ Ludwig.
Oh, was he in the chat?
Ask
See,
Luds.
I thought he'd be like me and wouldn't have a clue how to get in there.
Well, you actually have shown that you're capable of sneaking into that once in a while. Remember the
While I'm
alumni
driving.
game? Oh, that's even
While
better.
I'm driving.
Ask Luds which one of his kids is his favorite.
It's definitely CJ.
Who also played for the Islanders organization.
He knows to ask that question.
There it is right there on the screen.
Is that Craig Jr.? Is that what CJ stands for?
Yeah.
And he played, who'd he play for?
I don't know, CJ, who'd you play for?
He doesn't remember. In the Islanders organization? Because you played for the
Well,
for
he was
the
in
Isles.
he was in the Edmonton's organization.
Mm-hmm. That wouldn't be the Islanders.
No,
Yeah,
really?
well,
Let's
Good
see.
catch.
What team would that have been? I mean, he played
Right
for
now, I
Maddie
have
in
to stop
Missouri
saying.
too, and that wouldn't have been that team. So I don't know. CJ sent a message. I
Yeah,
don't know
jump
what
into
you're
the
talking
chat. Let us know what team you were playing for. Otherwise, we'd have to look it up.
about. He types with one finger too, so it'll probably be in the post game show.
Okay, all right. We'll look for it.
He probably sent that at about 9:00 this morning, or at least started at 9 this morning.
We have a bunch of Stars news to talk about. The most obvious, we'll get to. Sam's going to join us from UBS Arena after the line rushes to confirm stuff. By the way, CJ just jumped in and said, "That's my dad." Maybe he's talking about him, about you playing in the Islanders organization.
Yeah, maybe because that's new into me. If,
The way it was written was a confusing.
again,
Yeah.
don't fall far from the tree.
I love it. No, Logan Stankoven. Well, we're going to talk more about it with Sam in a few minutes, but Stankoven will not play today. He's going to be a healthy scratch. Colin Blackwell gets brought in. In one sense, it's surprising because he's played well. Offensively, he has not put up a lot of points lately. I have our buddy Logan down for 1 goal and 1 assist in his last 13 games. And there was a 25-game goal drought before that.
I think that as much as you like the player and everything that he does and what he stands for, how he goes about his business, you're at a point where it's not good enough. We need you to find a way to put the puck in the net. Everybody else is doing it, and you're chuckling, so I'm guessing I'm getting thrown under the bus by Junior right now.
Yeah, he said, nope, Bridgeport would be the Bridgeport Sound Tigers. And he said, we'll talk again next year.
Good talk.
Yep, that was good. That was a real heart-to-heart within the family there. Yeah, love it.
Bridgeport. I don't remember Bridgeport.
I used to do AHL games. We would play against Bridgeport with Albany all the time.
I'll have to hockey DB that.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to look it up afterwards. So Blackwell gets to come in, and Pete DeBoer said in his pregame media availability, I listened to it. Thanks to Mike Heika for sending me the audio. Pete said, Logan's going to be an important part of our team. He's, soon and down into the playoffs run. He goes, but that's part of playing on a really good team is you have competition for spots, and sometimes a guy has to come out of the lineup, even if they're not playing that poorly. Other guys have to play.
Yeah, I think that goes with every sport, doesn't it? I mean, you can't just, shouldn't say that. I mean, it doesn't. It used to be where it was okay to pull out some of the top players too at times. And then I think the owners started going, I don't need a guy that's making $8 million sitting in the stands. It doesn't look good on us. But I think there's got to be a standard set for all organizations, for your team, inside your team that and I think competition is good. I mean, it keeps you on the edge. And this is his first. I'm guessing he has never been pulled out of a game at the American League level. I don't think he ever has been here.
I can't think of one.
I can't think
off
of
the top
him
my
missing
head.
a game here since he's been a Dallas Star. So, but I think that carries over to some of the other guys.
He had the 2 injured scratches back right around December 1st.
Yeah, but it wasn't because of performance.
It was
or
not a
whatever you wanna-
performance-related thing, I don't believe. I think it was an injury.
And I think that, and again, I think it sends a message to the whole group. Like we have a standard here, and we give you some rope, and but at some point you have to start doing what you've done and what we expect you to do. And so again, it's not a lack of effort on his side. And sometimes, coaches will tell you sometimes it's good for a player to go sit up in the stands and watch the game for one night or two nights, whatever it may be, and then you'll get to see different places on the ice you could be, different situations that you come into, and where you may want to be. And it's easier to play from up there, but sometimes you go, I can do that a little bit better, or I can go over here a little bit quicker.
Let's talk about the Islanders, because we'll get back into Stars stuff when Sam joins us in a few minutes. The Islanders, of course, this is their first game from the break, as I mentioned earlier with my little scheduling rant. By the way, I don't want the job of the NHL master scheduler. I think that's a thankless job, and everyone's going to have complaints, but I'm going to complain about it. They get a couple of guys back tonight. Ryan Pulock and Scott Mayfield on blue line. Both players were out with injuries. They activated from the IR yesterday. Pulock missed the last 7 games going into the break. Mayfield the last 4. They'll play. We will not see Noah Dobson. He is ready to be activated and been practicing with the team, but he cannot be activated before tomorrow because of when you go on LTIR, you have a minimum number of days you must be on before you can be activated, just like IR is only 7 days. And so in doing that, they're going to have to make a move, both roster spot and some cap room, to open up a spot for Noah Dobson. The interesting thing was Patrick Waugh said, I'm not even going to go to that because they've had so many injuries. The situation from today to tomorrow might change. And let's talk about the injuries. Semyon Varlamov, their backup goalie for Sorokin, out since November 29th. He's out indefinitely. Mike Riley, out since November 1st. And he was originally out with a concussion. Then he had to have a heart procedure. I heard that as heart surgery, even if it's a minor procedure. And so he's out indefinitely, maybe out for the year. We don't know. Noah Dobson has been out since January 21st. Their backup goalie, Hogberg, has been out since the 25th. Matthew Barzal injured February 1st at Tampa and had some sort of reported kneecap procedure. Luddy, these guys have had a lot of things going on. I think the Stars with Marchment, Dumba, Seguin, Heiskanen, Lundqvist, that seems like a lot. The Islanders have had a very beat-up roster.
Well, again, doesn't it all come back to the schedule? I mean, all these teams had to go through that compressed schedule. And I think the biggest one, Dobson's a big miss for him too, but I think Mayfield's important for him coming back. The game that he plays, the system that Patrick wants to play, and he wants to be a team that's, keeps the puck out of his own net and plays well in his own zone. So I think Mayfield coming back in is going to be a big add for them, but there's no question that Dobson is missed there too.
The thing about the Islanders too is that they had a really good January. They went 9-3. They had a 7-game winning streak, but they kind of limped into the break. They lost 3 of 4. They gave up, I think it was 5.5 goals a game in those 3 losses. It was 6, and 5. So, and of course, obviously, some goaltending injuries and stuff like that. If they're down to their first and fourth string goalies instead of first and second or second and third, that winning streak of that January probably keeps their playoff hopes alive, because even that seems to be a bit of a stretch. To me, Luds, I know we talk about Lou Lamoriello not really saying a whole lot about his situation, but I think they need to show him something in the next 2 weeks or they're sellers.
Yeah, and you never know with Lou. I mean, you'll never know. You'll never know. I just think they're a middle-of-the-road team. They've got a couple games in hand on everybody above them, but when you look at their winning percentage, everybody above them's got a better winning percentage. So they kind of are a 500 club. I mean, I think their winning percentage is 518, 5 whatever, somewhere less than 520. So, and everybody else is, from winning percentage ways, is above that. And I just think that the Rangers and like the Ottawa, you don't know about. Columbus, you don't know about. And the Rangers, find a way. It seems like, where we thought they were down and out and dead in the water, they could be a team that sneaks into that wild card spot.
Up next, we'll talk to Sam live from UBS Arena and get an update on the Stars lineup right here on the Dallas Stars pregame show. But first, let's talk about Sleeper. And like simply put, the best fantasy league platform out there. Put your ball knowledge, I like to say puck knowledge, to the test by picking whether your favorite or least favorite players will have more or less than their projected stats each week. Last night on the postgame show, I said Liverpool at Manchester City, English Premier League soccer, just what Luds is glued to the TV.
Love it.
Mo Salah for more than 1.5 shots on target to win 2.18 times your money. Well, this morning, Mo had 2 shots on target and a goal. Liverpool beats Man City, and you would have hit if you had done that. With Sleeper, the more picks you combine, the more you can win, all the way up to 100 times your money. Sleeper keeps you in the loop with instant alerts for breaking news and major injuries. Stay ahead of the game and keep track of league updates in real time so you're always informed and ready to outsmart your friends. If you think you have what it takes, new users can download the Sleeper app and use the code DLLSstars to get $55 in free entries when you place a $5 contest. Apply it to any contest, doesn't have to be your first. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. And speaking of Sleeper, it's time to do our Sleeper game picks. Jake Oettinger, check out the screen over on this side because you can see us making the pick. Jake Oettinger back in the net. Take Otter for more than 24.5 saves tonight. No goal for Robo last night, but let's take Jason Robertson to record more than 0.5 goals. If you combine those two picks and they both hit, just like they hit yesterday, then you'll earn more than 4.6 times your entry on the Sleeper app. Make sure you do it. It's always fun. Add a little bit into that system. And we welcome in Sam Nessler, who's our resident Sleeper expert, but he's on the road, so I'm doing it for him till he comes back next week in studio. Sam, what's the update from UBS Arena? Buddy and I were talking about Blackwell coming in for Stankoven. Is that the only change tonight other than Oettinger for DeSmith?
Yeah, only change in terms of who comes in. The lineup differences is that we actually see Maverick Bork jumping up to the top line on the right wing with Robertson and Hintz, and Wyatt Johnston taking his spot with Ben and the Donoff on that third line. So we know Pete loves Wyatt Johnston down the middle. He's talked about their three centers all season long. I'm sure he wants to get a little bit more out of some guys there and putting them in there. But I noticed, I was just watching warm up here till the very tail end of it. Logan Stankoven, despite being a healthy scratch, was one of the last guys out on the ice for warm up, still doing everything he does before practices and games and being a part of this team. And I heard you guys talking a little bit about it. Look, this is a very good hockey team, third best in the NHL last time I checked. So you're going to have competition. That's what depth does. Depth gives you competition. It's what you want. It's a healthy competition. We've seen it all year. We see where guys don't make the team out of camp. We saw guys that aren't getting called up despite just scoring at an electric pace down in the AHL. Guys that are scratched on nights like Colin Blackwell. He's been a great player every time he's been in the lineup, yet he's been the odd man out often because they just have so much depth. So Pete talked about Stankoven being a big part of their team now, big part of their team in the future, and a big part going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I don't think this is no further than that. Just getting some fresh legs after a back-to-back, but I think it's big for this team to have that depth, right? It's what makes you a good team, and it's good to not overlook some of these things and just look at it as, let's get another guy fresh in the lineup. Stankoven's had trouble scoring. We've talked about it a bunch. He 1 goal in the last 13 games and a bunch of long scoreless droughts throughout the season. So maybe this gets him a view up here with us in the press box and maybe opens some things up for him.
You have Jake Oettinger starting in goal. His first game for the Stars since the Four Nations call-up with Team USA. And I listened to a little bit of Pete's interview. They were asking him about Jake. What's the vibe about Otter getting his first start since the break?
Yeah, well, you mentioned yesterday whether the decision had to do with the goalie's performance against certain teams, and it certainly worked with Casey DeSmith last night, who was excellent in New Jersey. Tonight, Jake Oettinger, more of the same. He's 4-1-0. He's got, I think, a .941 save percentage, 1.58 goals against average against the Islanders in his career. So it's a team he's had a lot of success against. We know that he shut him out in that first game against them earlier in the season at home. And Pete talked a lot about Jake. He was asked about his experience, right? He's a 25-year-old goalie who played a ton of playoff games, played a ton of regular season games, played huge game sevens and big moments in the playoffs, and now he's played in what is the biggest international tournament since he's been in the NHL. It's rare to see him in those moments only at 25 years old. And not only did Pete say that he's got a long road ahead of him, but Pete actually called him a huge piece of Team USA's future and USA Hockey's future. What a testament from a guy who's been around it and around Team Canada for a really long time. So I expect Oettinger to be ready to go tonight. And if you know him, he probably wanted to go last night, so he's probably itching to go here in UBS tonight.
Sam, I know that you were trying to keep this private, but I think you should rant publicly about your transportation to UBS Arena today and let everybody know what you went through.
Well, if anyone's been to New York, New Jersey area, it is just the worst ever when it comes to driving and transportation. I worked at the NHL office in Manhattan or wherever the heck it was in New York City for a year, and even though you're on a train, you're delayed for 2 hours randomly, or you're stuck somewhere, or you look up and all of a sudden you're in Hoboken because your train got redirected. It's absolute chaos. So today I gave myself like a 3-hour window to drive 1 hour to this arena from New Jersey, and it took me almost 2.5 hours to get here. It's nonstop. It's just crashes and everything. So not fun to get to this arena. You also have to take a shuttle from the parking lot where the media parks to get to the arena. You can't walk. It's like a 25-minute walk to get across to it. So all of that aside, what a beautiful arena it is inside. I give them full credit. It is awesome in here. It's loud even during warm-ups. Tons of cool stuff. You can see the giant screens we have up behind us in the press box. Really cool view. Oh yeah, there you go.
The thumbs up.
I'm very blessed for the second night in a row to be right here, looking right in the eyes of Josh and Razor right above me, getting the play-by-play. So Josh, they're giving me some looks during the pregame here. They say hi to the boys, obviously, but it's really cool to be here. And obviously, first time for me. I've never been to a home Islanders game. Growing up in New Jersey, never went to one at the old arena, and this is my first one here. So I'm excited to be here.
I think Razor's going to be happy looking down through the rafters again to call the game tonight.
Funny thing,
It's tough up here.
The funny thing is, Sam, like when that building was being built, I have a friend that's part owner there. They had me come out, and I met with the owners and stuff like that, and talked to them for a little bit, and they showed me the blueprints. We were walking around, and I took a picture, and they asked me about the broadcast. I took a picture of the Stars one here, and I sent it back to them, and I said, "This is the best spot in hockey." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we should do that." So apparently they didn't do that.
No, they didn't.
So at least if you run into Razor, let him know I tried.
All right, I'll tell him. I'm sure he's very open about his opinions when it comes to those things.
Sam, we were talking before you joined about the Islanders' injury woes, their LTIR usage. Noah Dobson probably coming off LTIR tomorrow when he's eligible, but lots going on. What are you hearing from the Islanders camp as they get ready for their first game coming out of the break?
It's an interesting team, right? They haven't had a good year. Obviously, we've talked about them being very disappointing for what feels like forever now. But specifically this season, they got the names Nelson and other guys that are in the trade rumors. But the thing that stood out to me was looking at their year. They actually had a really good January. They went 9-3 in the month of January. They're 2-3 so far in February, so haven't quite replicated it. But obviously, only 5 games played with the Four Nations break. But one thing that really stood out to me that I mentioned last night with New Jersey is they do not score in the first period. Same as New Jersey. They have almost 20 fewer goals in the first than they score in the second or third period all season. So the reason that stands out is because Dallas didn't play a perfect game last night. But what they did do is jump out to a 2-0 lead in the first period that they were able to eventually hold on to. Getting out to a lead tonight is going to be huge. We know how important it is playing with a lead when you're playing a back-to-back. We know how good Dallas is when they're playing with a lead. Jump on top of this team. Dallas is an excellent first period team. If they can jump out to another 1-2, maybe even 3-0 lead in the first period, it'll be really hard for a team that loves to play structured defensive hockey to chase the game. So I think that's a key for Dallas tonight.
I don't know about you, Luds, but I'd sign up for a 3-0 first period lead.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on it, though.
No, not for sure. Well, Sam, enjoy the game. We can't wait to hear from your report post-game, and hopefully you're warmer than you were last night in New Jersey.
All right, boys. Enjoy the game.
Luds, he talked about the Islanders not being a great first period team. One of the things that Pete DeBoer was asked about pregame today, and he brought this up actually, he was asked about playing against the Islanders, and he said, funny, they played Vegas right before the break. They actually beat the Golden Knights in New York on February the 4th. Bruce Cassidy, part of the coaching staff of Hockey Canada, alongside Pete DeBoer, and DeBoer brought this up. He said they talked to each other about it, and Cassidy said that the Islanders' neutral zone is really difficult to get through, that they really clog it up well. Is that something we should be looking at tonight?
Yeah, and I think any team that's playing against a Stars team knows that that's their game when they can come flying through the neutral zone. But the way that they get around that, we watch all the time how Dallas gets around the setup in the neutral zone is from there. They don't pass out of their zone. They use that flipper. And so you've got at least 3, maybe even 4 players still in the offensive zone from the opposing team. Essa's probably the best in the league at it. He flips that puck and he gets it to land somewhere near the faceoff dot, at center ice or the offensive blue line. Both defensemen have to bail out of that because what the Stars do, they send 2 guys flying out of the zone. So they can't really take advantage of their structure like they will against other teams because of that play.
Let's take a look at the lineup cards that we have prepared for you. The Stars one, of course, is different than we guessed. As Sam reported, Wyatt Johnston will move from top line right wing to centering the Jamie Benn, Evgeny Dodonov line, and Maverick Bourque flip-flops and goes to the right side with Hintz and Robertson. What do you think about that change?
Well, I think you're stronger. There's more balance there down the middle of the ice. So, and I just wonder if it's got anything to do with, can Bourque complement Hintz and Robertson? Does he think that better? I doubt it. Then anybody can complement more than Wyatt. But I think what it does is now it adds something else to that third line with Jamie and Dodonov, with Wyatt being able to fly through the neutral zone and be able to create and shoot from there.
We always talk about pairs. Is the pair Wyatt and Benn, or is it Benn and Dodonov?
I think it's more Wyatt and Benn. Because Dodonov was one of them guys. He's sneaky and he finds little open areas of the ice and he's always where he's supposed to be. He's almost the conscience of the line.
Feels like he can go play with anybody.
He can, and he's proven that. And he's that utility knife. He can go up and down. He can play wherever he has to, and he loves playing his offside. So he's a perfect kind of player to have on this club.
Obviously, you need health, but when you have Sam Steele on your fourth line, that shows how good you are. If Tyler Seguin comes back and you have to push a guy like, let's say, Dodonov to your fourth line, that just shows that's the depth that this team can have. That's their strength.
Yeah, but I think that there's an identity with that line, and that's
I'm
what
not
they
saying
start
change
out.
it. I'm just
and
saying,
I think that the reason that Steele is where he is because some of Bourque's offensive things are starting to come out. And so, he's starting to translate a lot of chances into goals.
And Bourque
he's
has
going
points
to the right
in
area.
3 straight games now. He's been good. Take a look at the defense. No changes expected. I wondered if they might go to Brendan Smith just for the fresh pair of legs, but they're going to stick with the 3 pairings. And you were very complimentary of Matt Dumba's game, which is not something we've heard from anybody over the last month or two.
Yeah, and it was just simple. I would say it was simple, but there's quicker decisions up in mid. And he wasn't running out of position to get the big hits like he wants. I think he's letting it come to him. And they were a very good pair last night, him and Bischel.
All right, let's take a look at the Islanders now. Their forward group, obviously led by their captain, Anders Lee, who's been statistically very good. They also have a top 4 rookie, as Maxim Siplikov is now tied with Logan Stankoven for points, goals, and assists, 4th in the NHL in rookie scoring, along with Stankoven, who I mentioned before has not put up a lot of points lately. He's playing up with Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, 2 potential rentals if the Islanders decide to be sellers. And guess who hasn't been playing particularly well, lads? Anthony Duclair. No points in his last 7 games, 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist in his last 18. The Islanders are pretty defensive, don't take a lot of penalties, kill the penalties they do have off, although their penalty kill has only been good lately because it was awful early this year. But they're not getting the offense from some of those guys up front.
Yeah, they need his speed, and they need him going to the net. And Horvat's a great two-way player. I just think that Nelson was probably a little bit of a letdown when it came to the tournament that we just had. And, I think he was a spare part, so to speak. I think with Palmieri over there, who can be a sneaky scorer and score some important goals, that would be the line that I would be concerned with tonight.
No, as I mentioned earlier, no Matthew Barzal, who's a big creative player for the Islanders. Then you take a look at their defense, and they are missing Noah Dobson, but they did do a couple of transactions. They picked up Tony DeAngelo as a free agent. Remember, he started the year, I think, over in the KHL. Scott Perunovich signed. They actually picked up another defenseman, Adam Boquist from Florida, on waivers because they had so many defensive injuries. But getting Pulak and Mayfield back allows them to have a little bit more stability in their defensive pairings.
Well, and they've got some heavy guys there. Romanov, Pelech, Mayfield, Polak, they can be hard to play against. They'll finish their checks on you. You got to keep your head up.
I'm a fan of Alexander Romanov. I really like the way he plays. I know DeAngelo is a divisive player. He has offensive skill. There's been some talks about whether or not he's good in the room or not, and obviously he's moved around for some teams. He has an ability to be offensive. Yep. Can he be a defensive liability, though?
Yes, and the same as Perunovich. I think they're both. Those are the 2 guys that are weighted to the offensive side of things, and this kind of the 4 guys play into the MO of this team. It's a team that wants to play a close game. They want to play a 2-1 hockey game. They want to be hard to play against. They want to play on their own end and through the neutral zone.
Ilya Sorokin is their number 1. He's very, very good. His numbers aren't quite where they usually are. I think that's more of a reflection of the team than him individually.
100%.
Yeah. Last thing, interesting note, the Islanders are tied for 28th in the NHL in home points. 28 points in their home game schedule this season in 26 games. However, they do have 6 straight wins at UBS Arena. They went 7-11-2 at home to start the year in their first 20, which is not very good. Suddenly they've started to figure it out, but it's not Nassau Coliseum right now for this team.
Yeah, well, you get a break like this, you're looking at this as a fresh start, and they're going to go down the stretch and they're going to say, hey, we've got to win 65% of our games, whether we're at home or not, in order to give ourselves a chance to get in the playoffs.
Well, the Islanders have to hit the road. They're hoping to get Dobson back. It sounds like they are going to maybe get a couple more players going. Hudson Fasching just came off of IR. So maybe they can get a little healthier as they go forward. They have a home game against the Rangers in 2 days. That's always a big game when the Rangers and Islanders play. Stars will actually finish their road trip in Columbus on Tuesday, but game 2 of this 3-game set coming out of the break right now. So go watch it on Victory Plus with us, and we will see you for postgame right here on DLLS.
I believe that they are going to crush these guys tonight.
We all silly like the mayor.